Well, it's my pleasure tonight to talk about a remarkable student in last year's ninth grade class, my English class, and I think her experience captures what ninth grade is like here at Randolph and what Randolph is like in the upper school. And so this is Eashaa Jampala over here. And Eashaa started last year very well trained, a hard worker. She was eager and ambitious, but she was nervous. And our first paper was on William Golding's Lord of the Flies. I kind of gave an open-ended essay assignment where I really wanted to teach them how to see the text as evidence that they research. And so I said, let's find a motif that says something about a commentary on mankind that Golding has made a motif, a symbol, a repeated symbol in the text. And Eashaa chose, after a lot of hand-wringing and thought, she chose a really interesting idea, the bird calls in the novel, which I had never actually noticed. Anyway, she came to me and she gave me this idea and she said, you know, can I do this? And I could tell she was anxious. I said, this sounds great. This is interesting. This is different. And she said, well, what do you think? What do you think the paper should be? I said, well, I don't know. We got to see where the evidence leads. And I could tell her eyes kind of popped out. She wanted to know, what are you, the teacher, looking for? What is the final paper supposed to look like? You know, she wanted to know, am I doing this right already? And I kind of danced around that answer. I encouraged her to go to the text for answer. I encouraged her to say, to know that it was okay not to know the right answer right away. I said, let the evidence lead you. Her eyes kind of stretched open. She took a long breath. And she began, and she really began her ninth grade year. She came for extra help again and again. She followed her research with me. She worked on the essay with me in extra help periods as well as class. And she developed an essay that was really fascinating and one that she truly cared about because it was philosophical but also represented kind of her perspective on the author's real statement about the human psychology, about human nature. This relationship continued throughout the year, and you know, Eashaa would come in and we would talk about the other books that we were reading and her own reading that she was doing, and we had long philosophical conversations after class. And then she decided to bring me in her personal poetry. And she was a novice poet, but her poetry was deep, clever work. And once again, I was impressed, but I was also a little bit critical. I said, you know, I think you're not thinking about your audience here. I think these poems are kind of inside of your own brain. And again, she was kind of taken aback. You know, what is it that you want from me? And I said, well, you know, it's not what I want. I want you to envision what you're trying to say to the people who are reading these poems. And I think it's the first time she really kind of thought about audience. What was also impressive about this was that here was a young lady who was coming to me for help, not on a paper, not to get a better grade, but her own personal learning, this skill of writing her own personal poetry. I remember she even decided to enter her poems into a couple of contests. She decided to enter them into our literary magazine, The Echo, and one deadline was approaching, and we'd been through several drafts, and Eashaa said, I just want you to look at it one more time. I said, well, my only free period today is really lunch. I said, can you meet me in the cafeteria? We can talk about it. And over corn dogs, you know, we wrestled with word choice and diction and, you know, her final draft of her poem. And she was really proud of it. At the end of that experience, she ended up even joining the literary magazine and serving on the poetry selection group where the kids have submitted their poems and they certainly will be published with their names on them. But when they're judged anonymously by the staff. And Eashaa, as a member of the staff, was in the room when her poems came up for judgment. And I was really impressed with how well she handled being quiet in the room when people were talking about her work that was deeply personal to her. And she was graceful, she wasn't nervous. It was really classy. And I thought to myself, this really shows an incredible growth between, you know, the beginning of the year where she was saying, tell me what you want, and the end of the year where she decided, this is what I want for my own personal work. Eashaa is a remarkable young lady and has had a unique learning experience just in ninth grade, but I don't think her experience is atypical of upper school students. We see this everywhere, this kind of individual pathway to learning. Students students are in capstone classes senior year. They're producing films or scientific studies, or they're generating novels about a particular time period. They're building projects for the Science Olympiad, or working with us in the community garden outside. Art and English students last year actually got together to produce the View Book, the Randolph View Book. So here the kids are actually writing the story of Randolph, which is their story. It's a unique kind of empowerment that I find really inspiring and a pleasure to work here. In this way, they're achieving academic excellence, and Eashaa certainly got the grade she was aspiring to and deserved, but I think she learned more than just an academic skill here. She learned life skills about risk, exploration, and achievement that emphasizes a personal connection. I think that she knows that she can take a leap into the unknown with confidence and perseverance, and that any activity she will excel by finding meaning in achievement, not just achievement for achievement's sake. And so here's Eashaa with her own story.
Thank you, Mr. G, for all the wonderful compliments, and to both to yourself, Mr. and Ms. Ranger, for having me here to represent the school. Having a broad essay question for my first freshman English essay was terrifying. Only halfway through the essay process did I recognize the benefits of having such a wide open topic. It allowed me freedom and room for me to dwell. Our task was to find and track a recurring motif in the book The Lord of the Flies, a novel in which a group of boys are stranded on an island and is forced to create their own government. From the moment we were given the prompt in class, I knew I didn't want to pick something overused or overanalyzed, like the conch the main character uses to call the group together, or even Piggy's glasses. For me as a student, this immediate response was worrying. Throughout middle school, I had always been wary of taking major risks, both in and out of the classroom. I'm sure my middle school teachers can attest to that. Picking the birds as my motif was stressful because it was strange and obscure, and I wasn't sure if Mr. G would approve of my choice. I didn't want to do poorly on my very first essay. I remember going to talk to Mr. G and having him tell me to just go with my gut. However, he didn't tell me how to do it, what to do. He wanted me to figure it out for myself, to take that risk. In the end, I decided to run with it. Maybe I should say crawl with it. Writing an essay on a topic no one else chose was difficult. It took some heavy-duty digging and analysis to make my paper come together, as well as multiple drafts and revision. Looking at my finished analysis was something I'll never forget. The way the paragraphs clicked together and formed a strong argument was incredible. My paper felt deserving of the praise I received. Reading Mr. G's pleased comments on my paper and having him tell me if my paper made him see the book in a new light was amazing. For the first time, my taking a huge risk paid off. It forced me to rethink my previous instinct of sticking to structure and waiting for approval on everything that I do. This experience allowed me to be more open to the idea of taking risks, and I know that feeling isn't going to go away anytime soon. The risk-taking concept applied outside of my regular classwork as well. The idea of writing poetry on my own and submitting it to a literary magazine had never occurred to me. In fact, I hadn't even been aware Randolph had a literary magazine. In class one day, Mr. G asked our class as a whole to consider submitting to the Echo. Poetry, despite being my favorite part of the English language, has never come naturally to me. When I wrote Ticketed Serendipity, the first poem I considered for the Echo, and took it to Mr. G for an outside look, I simply wanted to know if my poetry was actually any good. The poem proved to be too vague. I remember feeling frustrated after talking to Mr. G. As the author, I had originally planned for it to be purposefully vague. However, it was important for me to get a fresh perspective, to keep from allowing my poem from becoming annoyingly unclear. I think it's wonderful I felt comfortable enough to go talk to a faculty for extra help on extracurricular work and receiving that criticism. Through many stages of revision, I finally became confident enough in my poem to submit it to the Echo. I also joined the Echo team and ended up working on the poetry review panel. Sitting in a room with people judging my work, albeit anonymous, was nowhere near as nerve-wracking as I thought it'd be. In fact, I was rather indifferent to people reading my poems. My growth in character, from being scared to show my work to a teacher, to accepting and anticipating judgment from my peers, is a testament to how helpful it is to have people at school who both support and encourage you. When asked to talk about the future, I always struggle between answering, oh, I'll probably go into the medical field, and I really enjoy English, so I think I'll try that. Of course, I can't naively focus simply on the subject I enjoy the most, even if if I do plan to take AP Literature? Logically, I could very well end up in the medical field. I've certainly always considered the idea of psychology. The way a psychologist can evaluate a person's feelings and help them is fascinating. Interestingly enough, I drew many parallels between English classes and the psychology profession. Reading into symbols and patterns in literature is highly similar to psychological analysis. The literature has taught me qualities about myself as well as many life lessons. Reading books like Catcher in the Rye, where a teenage boy lives on his own in New York, or The Poison of the Bible, where an American missionary family moves to Africa, or even just a play like Julius Caesar, has helped me sympathize with how different people with varying personalities see and react to the world. Mr. G and all my teachers here have helped me bring out these reflections both in my work and in myself. It's important to not just look to my near future, but to my distant future. Randolph has supported me in my personal endeavors, taking academic risks, and shown me new ways to see the world. Because of the unique experience I've been a part of here, you can't replace my high school experience with any other student experience. Randolph pushes me to make my education not only academic, but also personally introspective.